Hello, everybody. I'm Zenith, and welcome back to the Disney Debate, where Kat Mac and I talk about Disney products and Disney in general. So, how's it going, Kat?
Going pretty good. I watched a movie that I haven't seen since I was a little kid, and I sort of enjoyed it.
It was, yeah. See, Make Mine Music is a film that is one of those Disney films that I have not seen, and after watching it, I don't really regret not seeing it before.
Mm.
It's not really a Disney classic by any means. It's not a bad film, but there's a lot of mediocre parts, and it just feels kind of like a wasted effort on Disney's part. And it's better than Victory Through Air Power. I'll give it that, and it's better than Reluctant Dragon. So help me God, it's better than that. But on the surface level, there's really not too much enjoyable parts to it.
Yeah.
When you look at it, I mean, I'd only say about four cartoons out of the 10 are good.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, this feels like sort of a half-assed version of Fantasia, like mixed with a bunch of random cartoons.
Yeah, I mean, the basic premise of Make Mine Music is basically, okay, so in the past we've had movies that are made up of like two or three or four cartoons. Let's do it somewhat like Fantasia. Let's take 10 cartoons and we'll do half of them will be like silent, put music in the background where we're not going to talk. It's just kind of like an atmospheric thing. And the other half are going to be funny little, Disney cartoons, somewhat in the vein of Bugs Bunny, only not good. And then they kind of put them together. So you'd have first one being silly cartoon, second one being Fantasia-esque sequence.
Yeah, and it doesn't really mesh that well together, nor does it transition that well.
I mean, first of all, it doesn't even come close to how good Fantasia was. Fantasia is simply a work of art, and they might have been trying to bring it back or bring it to prominence, but it simply wouldn't work with this. And second of all, the animation is way less than stellar. And just first you have the silly little cartoons. Those are as bad animation as the Reluctant Dragon.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with you there. There are some parts, some cartoons that, there is some, like, you could tell some artistic ability went into it, but for the most part, compared to other past movies, it's really, really lacking. It really leaves a lot to be desired, especially in terms of structure.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, we've been building up animation. Disney animation has been building up from the course of all the movies we've viewed, with the exception of the Reluctant Dragon. But I mean, each cartoon has shown us either better animation or a new style of animation. This is going back to the Reluctant Dragon in terms of animation, and it just doesn't impress in the silly cartoons. And the Fantasia-esque sequences are pretty, but they aren't as, atmospheric.
And they're not that interesting, really.
They're mostly boring, and even the animation isn't as good as, Fantasia could be. I would put it on par with maybe, Bambi in terms of animation, but it's still not as good as it could be. When you're trying to do something like Fantasia, I expect it to be, as good.
Right. I think a big factor with that is that Make My Music was made during wartime, where half the animators were drafted into the war, while the rest were basically just there to, make propaganda and other stuff like that, to build up morale for people fighting in the war. So, of course, with the lack of funds and the lack of artistic talent, they had to pretty much, make stuff that would give them money to survive throughout the war.
And
So
yet they chose this. And some of the stuff is good. But then some of the stuff is just like, who was this marketed towards? Because it's not funny. The animation makes me want to, kick a chicken or something like that. It's so bad. But anyway, let's actually dig right into these segments. There's 10 different cartoons, and the film actually. This is an interesting thing because on my version of the film, it starts off with a segment called "The Martins and the Coys," and this was actually cut from the video release because of comic gunplay. It was actually something that they only had 9 features on the actual video of Make Mine Music.
yeah, that surprised me because I actually found the video on sale at Walmart, so I figured, oh, what luck. So I bought it, I watched it, and then when I watched it again with you, then all of a sudden we're watching 2 different cartoons. I'm like, wait, what the hell?
Yeah, you were talking about the next segment, and I was talking about like these rednecks shooting guns, and we're like, did you get the wrong movie, Dave? I'm like, no. But yeah, so it was actually cut because apparently Disney doesn't like guns.
Well, I think when they say comic gunplay, it's that they're using guns in a comedic fashion, like something that kids would take as, oh, it's just guns, they're not that serious, they're like the toy guns, we could have fun with those. I guess that was their big issue with it. But frankly, I thought there was an even bigger issue with this cartoon.
That they were stereotypes?
Yeah, it's actually 2 things. One is that it was loaded with Southern stereotypes. I mean,
you have these old prospectors with beards that they're tripping on.
Not just prospectors, they're hillbillies.
Well, hillbillies. They look like, the old school, like, prospectors that you'd see in an iron mine or something.
Yeah, but, like, these are hillbillies, though. They're guys with scraggly beards. They don't wear shoes. They're
all ugly.
Yeah, they're ugly. They have these big, like, wide brim hats.
They drink gallons of whiskey.
Yeah, they have guns. There's like 1 billion of them living in one house on top of a hill. So yeah, it was that, and also the fact that the cartoon was really stupid.
Yeah, it wasn't funny. It wasn't. It was just like, okay. It starts off with like the Southern song, and just like all these hillbillies, they started a feuding, and you just see them like start shooting at each other, and you see their spirits go up to a cloud above, which is also something I didn't think Disney would do.
They definitely would do.
But then we see they said in the film it was supposed to be the last survivors of each side, but they contradict that later. There's a very big buff, like hulkish man, and a very pretty girl are the last 2 in the feud, and they instantly fall in love, and they just start dancing the Oklahoma dance, and end of cartoon. It was incredibly short. It was incredibly stupid, and the animation, as I said before, is horrible.
Yeah, this is like sort of like Tex Avery style animation or Hanna-Barbera style animation. It's just
no. I would say Hanna-Barbera is Hanna-Barbera can actually draw humans correctly. Yeah, if you've seen Tom and Jerry stuff.
Well, not their old stuff though.
Yeah, it's still better than a lot of what I've seen in Tom and Jerry cartoons. Like, this is really subpar animation, and it's stuff that I would not expect from Disney, and a face palm for that.
Yeah. So if anything, like, I guess I can buy, the whole gunplay thing, but I really think they cut it just because it was so offensive and stupid.
Yeah, so basically the other 9 cartoons are actually in the video release. And but the Martin the Coy's cut because it's stupid.
Yeah.
Now the next segment is called Blue Bayou, and it featured animation originally intended for Fantasia. And it does show. This is probably the best Fantasia-esque segment. But I want to say that the problem is that the song that they put in the musical composition is just too slow. It's more I want to say operatic or choral, and in terms of, it's a bunch of people singing together and a bird flying around, and the music, first of all, the music doesn't really fit in time with what the bird is doing in animation, and that was the whole point of Fantasia.
Yeah.
The whole point was that the music was complementing what was shown on screen and vice versa. It does not happen here. And also, there are vocals in the song, which also doesn't fit in with the Fantasia atmosphere.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Like, even some of these segments, which you probably could see being in Fantasia, is kind of ruined by the fact that they added, a chorus to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really think they should have just kept it just music and tried to make the animation fit better, but, what are you going to do? And
Yeah.
But overall, I thought Blue Bayou, while it was pretty to look at, it was pretty much boring, kind of forgettable.
It was just like, oh, hey, watch the bird fly around.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I was looking at a cutscene from Bambi.
Yeah, it actually feels more like Bambi than Fantasia.
Mm-hmm.
And, I can totally see why this was not used in Fantasia. Is it good on its own? Not really. It's pretty. I would recommend at least seeing it if you're a fan of Fantasia, definitely check this out, because you can definitely see that the animation in this is the best. But other than that, I would not really watch this segment.
Yeah, it's just pass over it, because this actually starts the theme of this. The two different themes that mesh together in this production. You start off with a goofy cartoon, then you have the artsy, boring piece, and then the pattern continues like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically what you're going to be hearing from us.
Mm-hmm. Then we have the next silly cartoon, which is actually the best silly cartoon of the bunch, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's called All the Cats Join In, and it's a segment pretty much set to jazz music. And it's drawn really well. It's kind of an artistic piece in the way that, as a pencil is drawing the sketch as it happens. And so you have the jazz music playing, you have the things being drawn, and they're moving while they're being drawn. So you have a car driving, but it's only half finished, and so the pencil finishes it for it. And I thought it was really interesting in terms of how they did the animation to this. And I really enjoyed the jazz music. I think this is the best piece in terms of, unique animation and really good music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely was enjoyable. I like seeing, the old time, 40s teens, dressing up in the style, all jumping into a car at once, going to the local malt shop for ice cream and for dancing around to the jukebox. I mean, that was pretty cool to see.
And, again, the animation is very different, where they all start, sitting at the stools, and so the stools pop up, right before they sit down, they're drawn. And then the last person, before the pencil can draw the stool, it accidentally sits down on the floor.
It kind of reminded me of that one scene from Saludos Amigos with the paintbrush.
Yeah, it's like the Watercolors of Brazil segment, only done with a pencil. And it is still a different thing, but I like how, first of all, you see the pencil drawing, but there are some segments where the pencil actually shades the thing, where when the pencil passes over it, the entire sketch changes into the figure, like a transition.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of it is done very uniquely. I have to say, this is probably the best piece in the film.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, there's some other ones that I happen to personally like, but in terms of, animation and music, with, music being the big thing, this definitely is far superior to the others we're about to talk about.
And the next one, Without You, I don't remember at all, looking back on it, which shows how forgettable it is.
Yeah, I remember absolutely nothing from that piece.
I'm pretty sure it was just another one of those short, there's something happening, we see pretty visuals, and then there's a song in the background. But honestly, it's not memorable at all. I can't remember anything that happened in it.
Yeah, it's one of those artsy, boring pieces. I guess it's supposed to be like a lamenting ballad or something, but the song is just so boring and so blah and generic that there's really nothing noticeable about this whatsoever.
Yeah, skip without you. It's not worth watching.
No, not at all.
Then we have Casey at the bat, and I have to say, I hate this. I hated this. Even more than Martins and the Coys. That was stupid, but Casey at the bat, this was weird.
Yeah, this one is probably like the black sheep of the bunch. It really has no purpose being in this film at all because, first of all, it's based on a poem called Casey at Bat. It's actually not a song. And they don't even sing it as a song. Not really.
Yeah, it's kind of like talk singing. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, the animation gets worse here. It's worse than the Martins and the Coys. The people all look ridiculously ugly.
Yeah, they're like, ugh.
These are like caricatures of people.
Yeah, like those really bad caricatures you see on like the boardwalk or in New York City. Those types of bad.
And so you see, like, it's basically it's a really long segment. It's actually a lot longer than the other segments of the thing. And you see a bunch of people playing baseball. You see a bunch of people playing baseball, and they're doing really weird things. Like, you see, every time they showcase the mound, you see the ball being thrown to every single player on the team simultaneously. And, that's weird enough. But then you see people in the stands, and they're doing weird things. You cut to the players who are about like trying to steal bases, and they're like hopping while squatting, like 5 times a second.
Yeah, it's like someone forgot to give the characters their Ritalin.
Yeah, they're all over the place. And then it leads up to Casey showing up, and he's supposed to be this really awesome baseball player, and all the girls are swooning at him. And he goes up, and the pitcher throws the ball, and he's all sweating. And apparently the pitch doesn't agree with the batter.
Yeah, so
this is Reluctant Dragon levels of bad. He became the Reluctant Dragon in that instant. No, that does not agree with me.
Yeah, that really did annoy me, because they're building up this guy to be like this messiah of baseball, saying, oh, he's going to win the game for us, and and then he, like, gets up there, and he just lets the first 2 go by. That's how much of a cocky bastard he is.
And, yeah, the second time, he's reading a book.
Yeah, and I love it, like, people in the stands are, like, going apeshit, and one woman even tries to, like, murder someone with a hat pin. Yeah,
and this guy brings out a knife because the umpire apparently made a bad call.
Yeah, even though it's obvious that he, didn't swing or attempt to swing at the ball.
And so, yeah, I mean, he swings, this whole cloud of dust happens, and apparently he missed. In this one event, the tragedy of Casey striking out a bat is enough to create a typhoon and destroy the stadium because it's such a random event. Like, no, dude, this is...
yeah.
This is a stupid cartoon.
There is no joy in Mudville.
like, seriously, this is the worst one.
Yeah, no doubt. This has no purpose being in this film, and I really wish they had cut this out, because... True, it's not offensive like the Martins and the Coys were, but in terms of animation, the lack of music, and the annoyance of the characters, it was just unpleasant. Absolutely.
And just the weirdness of the whole thing was just like, what is going on? What is even the hell? Like, this is worse than Three Caballeros in terms of the no logic, and it's not even fun. It's just like, what the hell am I watching?
Yeah, it's a definite skip. Definitely a skip.
And then we have another good one, which, like I said, there's only 4. We've already talked about 2 of them. The next one is Peter and the Wolf. And I thought this was pretty good. It's basically, it's voiced, it's narrated by the guy who does the voice for Winnie the Pooh.
Yay!
And first of all, that's always awesome. Sterling Holloway is his name, and that's always fun. But I feel this could actually be done better if it was done without narration.
Yeah, I feel that way too, because I actually grew up with the story of Peter the Wolf, and the way I always heard it, I either heard it just simply by music alone, and I was told at the beginning, which instrument represented which character, and then I just followed it from there, or I would have, visuals to accompany me. But I do think it could have done, it could have, relayed the story definitely without a narrator.
And so, yeah, so it's basically the story of this little boy. He wants to be all big and brave and hunt down the big bad wolf. And so he has his own theme song, and he's walking, and he meets up with a little bird and a cat and a duck. And this is a little bit different from the version I heard. In the version that I know, all the other animals die.
Ah, yes. Yeah, I heard that one too.
But in this one, it seems like the wolf comes out, and first of all, he is scary as hell. He is
my God.
freaky.
Yeah, this is the type of wolf that kids would see in their nightmares whenever they would listen to the Three Little Pigs or Red Riding Hood. This is the demon wolf that they would think of. Because, oh my God, this is like a creature from hell. That is how scary he is.
But yeah, so the wolf attacks. It appears that he's eaten the duck, and he's cornered the cat and the little boy atop a tree. And so we cut to some Russian people, and they see a Russian bird, the bird that was with the boy, and he's like asking them to get help. And so they cock their guns, and they're like, yes, we're going to get the wolf. And first of all, I really love these Russian guys. Even if they are a bit stereotypical, they are hilarious the way they're animated. Like, they're all hopping in time and stuff. It's funny. And so they arrive, and without any warning, the boy has tied up the wolf.
Yeah, that made no sense to me. Because when you last see Peter, you see he's trying to ring the wolf up by his tail. The wolf somehow manages to flip himself onto the branch where he is, and seems like he's about to pounce on him. That's when the bird goes off and gets the hunters, and when he comes back, suddenly the wolf is tied upside down, hanging from the branch. And I'm thinking, bullshit. How? This is a little boy who is like less than half the wolf's size, and the only weapon on him was a little toy pop gun. That makes no sense. Yeah,
it doesn't really make sense. And then the duck appears, and he's okay, and everyone rejoices. It was a fun cartoon, but I think it could have been done better without narration, and there was that little plot hole. It was still fun. It's still good for a children's cartoon. I'd recommend seeing it, but, take it with a grain of salt. It's not the best in the bunch.
I personally would listen to recordings of it, or, some other live action, versions of it that are out there, that, in my opinion, actually are tell the story better that way. That's just my personal opinion. Because usually some versions that I heard, I did hear where they all don't survive, but I also heard ones where, just the duck doesn't survive. Or the wolf, swallows the duck whole, and then one of her feathers tickles his nose, and suddenly he manages to sneeze her all out.
Yeah, the tale gets told and retold a lot of different ways. This isn't the best version, but it is pretty good, and it's worth it to hear Sterling Holloway, because every time I listen to him, I'm like, that's Winnie the Pooh. that's I want to go watch that movie now.
For some reason, every time I hear him speak, I think of Kaa from Jungle Book.
Oh yeah, he was also Kaa too.
And all right, and another one, another artsy type cartoon that we skipped over, sort of. This one is called Two Silhouettes.
And it is another one of those that is kind of forgettable.
Yeah, another boring artsy type thing. Except this one, it doesn't have so much have animation as it is like literally silhouettes. It's basically two ballet dancers, moving like around in like I guess a green screen background or something, with occasional like pretty animation sprinkled down around them.
And the thing about this is, it's cool that they actually incorporated the mixture of live action and regular animation in, but they didn't do it the right way. Like in the Three Caballeros, the way they did it was the right way, where they actually showed like animation on screen, and they showed the animated characters interacting with the live action people. But here they have silhouettes of people, you don't even actually get to see them, and the animated part is the background. And so it's just like, oh, we're just going to make it this artsy thing. You're just watching ballet dancers for like 5 minutes, and it's boring. Nothing happens.
Yeah, there's nothing special about it. I mean, there are points where you think, oh, is this actually people, or is this actually animation? But, yeah, honestly, it's really nothing special to behold. And you do...
It's somewhat interesting, but it's not, like, on par with a lot of the other stuff we've talked about in Disney.
Yeah, it'll hold your attention for the first minute, but then after that, it quickly gets boring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so the next artsy segment is called After You've Gone.
This one is a weird one.
This one I actually liked. This is the only other good artsy one.
Yeah, this one kind of like it seems like a segment cut out of the Three Caballeros, and the fact that it is so crazy, so fast in the animation, and just it seems like a mini acid trip. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a lot of crazy animation stuff, and you can see this is where they put the animation budget, and this one's short. And basically you have 4 anthropomorphic instruments. Basically instruments who change so they have like feet and stuff, and they walk around on, it's really cool. You have like a piano segment, and you have an oboe and stuff like that. It's really cool.
It is. I'll give it that. The way that they make the instruments change into different shapes, like they have the piano turning into water, and having the horn turn itself into different things. I mean, that was pretty cool. I'll give it that. The animation is stellar. It really is.
The music, on the other hand, is not the best.
Yeah. And I think of my other issue is the fact that it's also very, very short. Because, like, it goes so fast, and it's so chaotic and so zany, and then it just ends abruptly, and it leaves you wondering, what the hell did I just watch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say it's fun, but it is short, and it does kind of make you like, okay, I wasn't prepared for this.
Yeah, as opposed to the other boring artsy pieces, this one definitely is, a lot better. Yeah, definitely a lot better. Like, music's nothing, like, memorable, but it's better than the others.
The next segment we have is Johnny Fedora and Alice Bluebonnet. It's a story of 2 hats who fall in love with each other. And first of all, let me just say, the song playing in the background for this is horrible. I don't know where they got the song, but it's the Andrews Sisters, apparently. I don't know too much about the Andrews Sisters, but it's really slow and it's really boring. And it's a showcase of how, not all the music in this era was good. It does not age well. Yeah,
and this, unlike the others, this one does have a plot. Again, like you said, there's 2 hats that are in love, but then the bonnet, the girl, ends up getting bought and taken away, and then the fedora is left all alone. Eventually, he's bought and taken away. But he's still lovesick, and then one day he spots her in a crowd and goes after her, but he loses her, and it becomes like a very depressing tale of him just drifting from one spot to another, like vainly looking for her.
And then there's this one scene which, every time we saw it, we were just like, darkest sketch, because the hat gets on the head of a like homeless person.
Mm-hmm.
He walks into a bar, and a gunfight emerges in the bar. And
Yeah.
you hear a scream, and then the police come in and break it up. And then the hat just goes out. It's like nothing just happened. Like, Disney, what the hell?
Yeah, it was really weird because like it starts off with the guy's just drinking, then he seems to hit on this lady, and then her boyfriend apparently like starts something with a guy, and then the guy just whips out a gun and starts shooting everywhere, and then everyone else is whipping out their guns and shooting, and there's like screaming and everything, and then the police come and they start beating the shit out of everyone, and it's like whoa, this cartoon took a really dark turn.
Yeah, and it's for nothing. And then the end of the thing is where the hat gets holes put into his brim. He gets put on the head of a horse. And by some luck, the Bluebonnet is also on the head of another horse that just so happens to be the same place.
Yeah, they conveniently found each other again and spend the rest of their lives as horse hats.
And another interesting thing or weird thing about this cartoon is that, okay, so the Bluebonnet has the face on the outside of the hat,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see, it's a regular face, but not so for the fedora. The fedora, its mouth is the inside of the hat.
Yeah.
And so every time I saw it on, like, the rack, I'm just like, dude, he must be gagging with that,
I'm sure he's used to it being a hat and everything, but that is kind of weird. I guess they did that just, sort of make him more expressive, and, like, give him more reason to, like, move his mouth, and plus make it not look quite as awkward. The fact that there's a hat that seems to have, like, a real face on it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is kind of weird, because, like, he's basically deep-throating everything that he
Giggity.
plays on top of it. But
it was okay.
Yeah, like, I personally, like, think the ending was, like, really, really weak. They just happened to find each other. I mean, I was, like, half expecting that at some point the lady who bought the bonnet would meet up with the guy who bought the fedora and, they would fall in love. And then, that would give that would be a reason for the two hats to have found each other again.
Mm-hmm.
And, it'd be a nice little romantic piece. But no, that's not it at all. They just, happen to run into each other with no real explanation.
It was a weird little cartoon. There were some parts that were pretty good, but it was hurt by a lot of other segments. And then we have the last segment, which is The Whale Who Wanted to Sing at the Met, which is kind of interesting because you'd think they'd ended on an artsy cartoon, but it's another story. It's like 2 story cartoons in a row.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this one I think people remember most of all, with the singing whale. I know I certainly remember this one. This is like, when I heard of Make My Music, the only thing that really stuck out in my mind was the whale.
And honestly, I don't think this is the best cartoon in the bunch.
Yeah, it isn't. It's kind of weird. Like, it's kind of weird, and it's also really depressing.
Yeah, it's like, it's okay. This guy hears this tale about a whale who has the incredible music talent, and a whale hears this, and so he starts singing opera. And apparently he has like 3 different vocal cords, so he can sing in 3 different operatics, which is weird in and of itself.
Yeah, because, I mean, this is a whale. I mean, I don't know much about whale anatomy, but I'm pretty sure they don't have, vocal cords like that.
And so, yeah, so that's the first weird thing. The second thing is he goes to a fishing boat.
Yeah.
And at first everyone's like, a whale, harpoon it. But the whale starts singing opera. He wants to be in the opera. And so the sailors on board are just like, oh, this is awesome. But apparently the other person on the boat thinks that he swallowed an opera singer. But not just 1, 3, because he has 3 different voice singers. And it's so weird. Like, why would you jump to that conclusion? Like, why would they still be alive? And whales don't eat people.
Well, he was going by the logic of, Jonah and the whale. So he was, he probably was following Bible logic. So, Yeah.
And so we get this segment where it's not even like a flashback. It's like an image of what would happen if he became an opera singer.
Yeah, but that's not really.
And
It's not really like shown though, because at first you really believe, hey, the guy came around and now he's made the whale like this famous opera singer, and you see him at the Metropolitan doing all these famous roles in these famous operas.
and then I don't even know if it's either from the whale's perspective or the guy's perspective, because after it happens, the guy says, "I can't let that happen." Like, what? You can't let this guy be an opera singer? What? It doesn't make sense. And if it was the whale's hallucination, why did the guy talk at the end? Why wasn't the whale like, "Oh, I'm going to be an awesome opera singer because of that"? No, it was just weird. And then the whale gets harpooned and killed, and then he's singing in heaven.
Yeah, like that part always upset me, especially since like here's the thing, they don't really show Willie himself, being harpooned. You just see the outline of a normal whale basically thrashing about in the ocean with a harpoon attached to him. And that always like freaked me out when I was a kid because I'm like, wait, what happened? Like, why is there a real whale? Where did Willie go? And then he just disappears.
Yeah, this was just a really weird cartoon, and it's not even interesting. It's just like, what the hell? It's 7 flavors of what the hell.
Mhm. And it's also like weird that they would have this one guy pretty much do the voices of every character in the cartoon.
Yeah, that was really weird. You just had this guy singing as an opera singer for every character.
Like, it's cool. Like, I like it because the guy actually is a good singer. I thought he did a good job, with singing the opera and everything.
But he doesn't have range.
Yeah, in terms of being a voice actor, his range is really lacking since pretty much all the characters sounded exactly alike, even when he was trying to disguise his voice. Because he would even do the women voice, and you could tell that he was faking it with, like, a really bad falsetto.
Yeah, and even when he was singing the different opera tones, he only got 1 on pitch, I think.
Yeah, not only that, but his dictation, like, I could not understand a word he was saying in any of the operas that he was singing. Like, maybe 1 or 2, but it just sounded like he was going, oh, and I mean, like, I know some operas are like that, but was familiar with some of those operas, but I could not make out any of the words he was saying.
Yeah, it was not the best opera I've ever heard. And that's the 10th segment, which is a weird way to end it. Like, you end on such a depressing note.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's cool, that the whale now gets to sing up in heaven and no one else is allowed into heaven because he's singing. But I think it could have ended on a much better cartoon, a much stronger piece.
So those are the segments. But the only 4 that are worth watching are Blue Bayou, All the Cats Join In, Peter and the Wolf, and After You've Gone. Pretty much.
Yeah, and even then, Blue Bayou is pushing it.
Blue Bayou I would only watch if you're a fan of Fantasia. And if you're like, okay, this is stuff that was cut from Fantasia. But it's short, and honestly, it's not the best. And After You've Gone, like we said, is also short, and it kind of hits you like a train of acid.
Yeah. So overall, there's really not much to watch about Make My Music, because like you expect something that has the title Make My Music, to have all these like pretty cool cartoons done in the same style Fantasia was, with them being all music oriented. But the fact that they have 2 different genres of cartoons just clashing with each other and not even being all that interesting or fun to watch, it just really hurts.
And honestly, in terms of music, there's nothing to say about the music other than all the only good musical segment was All the Cats Join In, and it was because it was really good jazz. But it's not like Bambi or anything where we can talk about the music individually. It's just blah.
Yeah, because nothing is catchy, nothing's memorable. Like, honestly, I was like, you know, I was just watching this and like half the time just like checking my watch and be like, okay, you can end this now. Next cartoon.
Even more so than Victory Through Air Power, that was kind of boring. But watching this, I'm just like, Casey at bat, I will destroy you.
Yeah, I think if people wanted to like watch this, just to say that they did watch it, you're better off just, looking up the individual clips on YouTube and seeing it that way. I personally
Yeah.
think that's the way to go about, because just watching them all in sequence just gets, just gets tedious, because
It's really weird. It's really boring, and only two are really good, which
right.
is All the Cats Join In and Peter and the Wolf.
Hmm. Yes.
Two are great, and the rest are just.
Yeah, so I would say this is definitely a skip, with the exception of, probably two or three cartoons, which again you can easily look up on YouTube.
Honestly, this is not a Disney classic, and out of all this, this reminds me a lot of Saludos Amigos in terms of skippability,
Mhm.
and I just wouldn't watch it. Like,
Yeah,
I knew going into the dark half of the 1940s that there would be a lot of weird stuff, and that there would be a lot of stuff that wasn't really good. But this is kind of on the low end of things. And there was even a cartoon that I compared to The Reluctant Dragon. So, yeah, this is not good.
yeah, I mean, it's nowhere near like it's not abysmal, it's not terrible, but it's mostly forgettable or passable. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, like I said, passable at the most. So, like I said, if you're a Disney fan, you want to say that you had seen all the cartoons and everything, go ahead, take a look. No one's gonna blame you for it. But in terms of entertainment quality, yeah, it's a definite pass.
Whew. So, yeah, that was Make Mine Music. And that was the fourth package film that Disney's done. Other than, Saludos Amigos, The Three Caballeros, and Fantasia. And thinking about it, only two of the package films that we viewed worked.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I understand, Disney was under a budget and everything, and lacking competent artists. But when you're trying to make films, by combining a whole bunch of cartoons together, you really gotta like think and find a way to make it flow, just so it seems like a full movie rather than a like hour and a half TV special.
Like thinking forward into the future, the Wind in the Willows and the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Hmm.
Like these films were good Disney package films where they have like one or two things combined with each other, and they kind of have a similar theme.
Right. Because the big thing to like make a package film work is that you have to have stuff that works individually and then works with each other. You know,
Hmm.
has like a similar theme, can can transition seamlessly into the next thing, and basically keep you entertained.
And Fantasia was an exception. Fantasia was an experiment in new videos and new ways of combining music and video. Saludos Amigos was just okay. Let's slap together some cartoons that had no. The only thing that like set them together was because they were set in the same, somewhat the same locations. They were just about the South
Mm.
and about new countries and Brazil and stuff like that. Three Caballeros worked much better in the fact that, okay, they had better animation, they had better fluidity in the story and the plot.
Right, and they had the same thing in common, which they basically served as education pieces for Donald. You know,
Hmm.
they all had that in
And they still
common.
showcased the culture, like it was Saludos Amigos was supposed to do, but Three Caballeros did it with like, let's make new characters for each country, and they're going to show us the country.
Yeah,
And that's a that was a great idea.
Definitely. So it's
In
a shame.
here, it's just like, okay, let's collect cartoons together and try to be Fantasia.
Yeah, definitely. I know, like, well, Three Caballeros had its craziness and at times like instability in terms of, whether it wanted to be an educational piece or a wacky cartoon or whatever. It at least, tied in together as one movie. You could watch it as a full-length movie. Whereas Make My Music, honestly, you can just watch the individual stuff and it wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Make Mine Music is the weakest of the four.
Yeah,
And
so far anyway, because we actually have 2 more package films coming up.
Oh, God. Well, we'll see, because I actually like The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, so I don't know what the other one is.
Well, we also have Fun and Fancy Free and Melody Time.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And I actually remember these, like, vividly, and yeah, we got some good ones ahead of us. I say good with quotes around it.
Oh, God. Well, we're going to have stuff to talk about. In the meantime, the dark period of the 1940s we're in the middle of it. We're almost getting to the end. And
yeah. By this point, the war has now been over. Some new stuff was getting made, but you can tell the lack of quality in the upcoming films, and we'll get to that when we get to them.
Well, and anyway, so that was Make Mine Music. What we're going to do next is one that is very, very infamous.
Yeah, very controversial. I'm sure a lot of you know what that is.
The Song of the South.
Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay.
See, I love Zippity-Doo-Dah. That's like one of the things, but I've never actually seen Song of the South. I've always just seen, the Zippity-Doo-Dah music video.
Yeah, I actually didn't see the full movie, but I did see certain parts on VHSs that I used to own, which was a combination of Disney songs, and I always remember watching Zippity-Doo-Dah, and I loved it. But I never really...
It's a very fun song.
Definitely. But unfortunately, it's not exactly what this film is known for.
Yeah, but we are going to get to that next week. But anyway, this has been the Disney debate for this week. I am Zenith Rule, and if you guys want to contact me or Kat Mac at all, please contact me at zenithrule.blip.tv and leave your comments in the comments thread, or you can follow us at twitter.com/zenithrule or twitter.com/EphraimTRabbit, or you can go to our Facebooks and friend us there and listen to our ramblings and updates and stuff at facebook.com/zenithrule and facebook.com/catmac.
In the meantime, I am Kat Mac /EphraimTRabbit/CatTCritic.
And I am Zenith Rule, and we'll be seeing you.
TTFN, ta-ta for now.
Thank you for watching the Media Meltdown. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more awesome videos. And if you like what you see, show your support on the Patreon page at patreon.com/Media Meltdown. See you all next time on the Media Meltdown.